Howdy ladies and gents, my name is Thom Gibson and today I'm talking about my late work policy during distance learning. I think I'll also implement this policy when we get back into the classroom. So to start out, generally you think a grade is supposed to represent how the percentage of comprehension that a student has on a particular concept. If they got 100, that means they understand this concept 100% to the expectation that you have of them. Traditionally, if things were late, I would take points off, maybe 5 points, maybe 10 points. And my rationale was kids need to learn how to meet deadlines because that's a real world skill. But if the grade was assessing their knowledge of a particular concept, do they have 90% of that comprehension or do they have 100% of the comprehension as you have laid out in your expectations? Or is this grade supposed to represent more than their comprehension? Is it their comprehension and their ability to turn things in on time and their ability to follow directions exactly? Because you think about teachers like taking points off because a kid didn't put their name on a piece of paper, which is super frustrating because you have to go hunt them down and you're trying to disincentivize that. But do they have 95% of comprehension now? Or are we just trying to find ways to pull points from a number that's supposed to represent their understanding of what we're learning? And so with distance learning, it's even more tricky because like different students have different home lives. They've got different internet speed. They've got different resources available to them. They have different environments that are either conducive or not conducive to getting work done. And so all of that had me rethinking my late work policy. And here's what I settled on. Students can turn work up to 2 weeks late for full credit. And there is also going to be a separate timeliness grade. It's gonna be worth a 100-point formative, which is not a huge part of their grade, but it's also not a tiny part of their grade either. And every time an assignment is turned in late, 5 points will be taken off the timeliness grade that cannot be redeemed. So if you end the semester with 3 late assignments, your timeliness grade will be an 85. If you end the semester with 10 late assignments, your timeliness grade will be a 50. There's no way to reassess it. There's no way to bring it up. The only way to maintain that 100 is to turn things in on time. If students ask for an extension and I grant that extension, which I've been pretty liberal with this year. If students are like, oh, I've been having technical issues, Thom, is it okay if I turn it in a couple days late? And if they contact me like not 2 minutes before class or like at the beginning of the class, I've been fairly lenient with granting extensions. If a student asks for an extension and gets that extension and they turn it in before that new deadline that I've given them, then they don't lose any points on the timeliness grade because they were proactive, they communicated with me, we got the new deadline, and they were able to meet that deadline. As far as keeping track of like who has an extension and who doesn't, in my learning management system, it'll flag someone red if something was turned in late. And so I can go back and see if there was an email thread with that person if need be. But a lot of times it's like, oh yeah, they asked, I remember them asking for an extension. Let me just go back and see what that extension was and what the day and time was that they turned it in. So it's not too difficult to keep track of or to look back and see if a student did get an extension. And the whole thing about having it turned in within 2 weeks of the original due date to get up to full credit on the assignment and only losing points on the timeliness grade if it's late is I don't want the situation where students just literally waiting till the end of the semester to turn a bunch of stuff in, because then that's a lot of work on me. And they're not getting feedback as we are learning things, and it just becomes like the game of school all the more. And so that is how I'm having grades actually represent the student's understanding, but still creating some kind of accountability for due dates and assessing that separately from the math or science content that I'm assessing in the class. So let me know what your late work policy is, if it's different than this. Also, if you're a teacher or admin that is in charge of professional development for the teachers at your school or district, I've updated my Work With Me profile on my website that I'll link to at the top of the description. So you can see different training that I can provide for teachers when it comes to not only assessments, but also classroom management, classroom culture, and things of that nature. That being said, my name is Thom Gibson. I hope you learned something today that'll help you give more meaningful and memorable experiences for your students. Subscribe if you'd like to stay in the loop with any upcoming videos, and hopefully I will see you in the next video.